Welcome to Sleepy, where we listen, we relax, and we get sleepy. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's start tonight's story. The Gentle Shore. A quiet escape by the sea. The train glided softly along the coastal tracks, its rhythmic hum mingling with the distant cry of seagulls. Inside one of the carriages, Lena sat by the window, watching the ocean flash in and out of view between the cliffs. She had been dreaming of this trip for weeks, a short escape from the noise of the city to a little seaside village she had once visited as a child. Outside, the morning mist was slowly lifting, revealing a pale blue sky and sunlight sparkling across the waves. The sight alone made her shoulders relax. She wrapped her scarf a little tighter, leaned her head against the window, and closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the train sway gently beneath her. When she arrived at the small station, the air that greeted her was warm and tinged with salt. The village of Westhaven was exactly as she remembered, a scattering of pastel cottages, flower boxes in full bloom, and winding lanes leading down to the beach. The faint sound of laughter drifted from somewhere near the shore. Lena checked into a little inn called the Driftwood House. The building was old, but beautifully kept. Whitewashed walls, navy blue shutters, and a porch filled with wicker chairs and seashell wind chimes that jingled softly in the breeze. "Welcome," said the innkeeper, an elderly woman named Martha, whose eyes sparkled like the sea itself. "You must be Lena. Your room is ready, upstairs, facing the water. Breakfast at 8, and don't miss the sunset from the porch. It's our best show in town." Lena smiled warmly. "Thank you. I'll be sure to watch it." Her room was a small haven, white curtains fluttering in the open window, a bed dressed in linen as soft as clouds, and a faint scent of lavender in the air. She placed her weekend bag on the chair and took a deep breath. Everything felt perfectly still. Outside, the ocean was a long, shimmering ribbon, stretching endlessly to the horizon. Lena sat by the window for a while, just listening to the waves, to the wind, to the subtle hum of life outside. Then, after unpacking, she slipped on her sandals, took her notebook, and went out to explore. Morning by the sea, the narrow street leading down to the beach was lined with little shops selling seashell jewelry, saltwater taffy, and watercolor postcards. A cafe named Harbor Light was open, and the smell of freshly baked muffins filled the air. Lena stopped in for a coffee and sat by the window, watching the town slowly wake. A fisherman on a bicycle pedaled by, carrying a basket of nets. A group of children in sun hats ran toward the beach, buckets swinging in their hands. The barista, a cheerful young man with sandy hair, smiled at her. "First time in Westhaven?" Lena shook her head. "No, but it's been years. It feels just the same, maybe even quieter." "That's how we like it," he said, pouring her another splash of cream. "Nothing ever really changes here, except the tide." Lena laughed softly and thanked him. As she sipped her coffee, she opened her notebook and began to write, not about work, not about plans or lists, but about how she felt in this moment. Free, calm, and beautifully unhurried. After finishing her coffee, she wandered down to the beach. The tide was low, revealing stretches of golden sand and smooth stones glistening under the sun. A gentle wind blew in from the water, carrying the cries of gulls and the scent of salt. She walked barefoot along the shore, the waves brushing her toes, and felt as though every step washed away another layer of worry. By noon, the day had turned bright and warm. Lena returned to the inn and found Martha arranging flowers in the lounge. "Heading to the beach again?" Martha asked with a kind smile. "I was thinking of taking a book and maybe a sandwich," Lena said. "Perfect idea. There's a little cove just beyond the pier. Most folks don't know about it. Quiet as a whisper, and the water's clear as glass." Lena packed a simple lunch from the inn's picnic basket service, a turkey sandwich, an apple, and a bottle of lemonade, and made her way down the lane once more. The cove was exactly as Martha described. Nestled between two rocky cliffs, it was almost hidden from view. The sand here was pale and fine, the sea calm and shallow. Only a few shells dotted the shore, and the rhythmic sigh of the waves filled the air like a lullaby. She spread out her towel, opened her book, and read for a while. Then she put it aside and simply lay still, letting the sunlight soak into her skin. The sound of the waves seemed to slow her heartbeat, until at some point she drifted into a gentle nap. When she awoke, the tide had crept closer, and the sun had moved slightly westward. Her hair smelled faintly of salt, and she felt wonderfully light. She sat up, ate her sandwich, and watched a small sailboat gliding lazily across the horizon. A little further down the beach, two children were collecting shells in their pails, while their father sketched something in the sand. The scene was so peaceful that Lena smiled to herself. She took out her notebook again and wrote, "Today, I remembered what stillness feels like. The sea speaks quietly, but it says everything." As the afternoon cooled, Lena packed up her things and walked back toward the village. The air was filled with the scent of jasmine and distant cooking, grilled fish, garlic, and lemon. On her way back, she stopped by a small art gallery that had its door propped open. Inside, the walls were lined with local paintings, sunsets, waves, portraits of fishermen, and cottages bathed in evening light. The artist herself stood behind a counter, a gentle woman with silver hair and paint-streaked fingers. "Beautiful work," Lena said softly. The woman smiled. "Thank you. The sea has been my muse for 40 years. It changes every day, yet somehow it's always the same." They talked for a while about art and about how both painting and writing were ways of holding on to fleeting moments. Before she left, the artist pressed a small postcard into Lena's hand, a watercolor of West Haven at dusk. "A little reminder," she said. Lena thanked her and stepped outside into the fading light. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky with streaks of pink and orange. The town had come alive, people sitting on porches, couples strolling hand in hand, children chasing bubbles along the street. Back at the inn, Martha had lit candles along the porch rail. "You made it just in time," she said. "Sunset waits for no one." Lena took a seat and watched as the last rays of sunlight melted into the ocean. The waves shimmered gold, then deepened to violet. A soft hush fell over the village as dusk settled in. Later that evening, the town held its weekly tradition, Lantern Night. Residents and visitors gathered near the pier, carrying paper lanterns shaped like stars and shells. As the sky darkened, they lit them one by one, the soft glow reflecting off the water. Martha joined Lena by the rail. "We do this every Saturday," she said. "It's our way of thanking the sea for another safe week." Together, they released their lanterns into the gentle breeze. They drifted upward, joining dozens of others until the night sky was full of floating lights, like fireflies above the waves. Lena closed her eyes for a moment, breathing in the scent of the sea and the faint smoke of the candles. She felt profoundly at peace, as if her heart had finally found its natural rhythm again. Back in her room, Lena opened the window wide. The moonlight poured in, silver and soft. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear a dog barking faintly, and the rhythmic pulse of the tide returning. She changed into her pajamas and made a cup of chamomile tea from the little tray on the dresser. The steam curled in the cool air, carrying the soothing scent of honey. Sitting by the window, she wrote her final notes for the day. The sea does not hurry, yet everything is done. I think I'm learning from it. She smiled, closed her notebook, and climbed into bed. The sheets were cool and crisp, the pillow soft. Through the open window, the night whispered, the hush of the waves, the soft creak of boats in the harbor, the rustle of the curtains in the breeze. Her eyelids grew heavy. She thought of the people she'd met today, the calm rhythm of the town, and the lanterns floating away like tiny prayers. The last thing she felt before sleep claimed her was gratitude for the quiet, for the sea, and for the stillness she had rediscovered within herself. Outside, the tide continued its endless dance. The stars shimmered above West Haven, and in a small white room at the edge of the sea, Lena slept deeply, cradled by the gentle rhythm of the shore.